the derivation of Hamd as Ahmed, Mehmed, Mahmud, Muhammad. These comes from the same root, right? So these kind of names are given to the child. Then after he named the baby, they say that I give the name and God gives the lifespan to that baby, right? They praise to the Allah and they do make dua about the baby that he's going to have the nice lifetime, right? Then it finishes. Baby, then they put the baby into the salt, into a salt. That after he got born, they put the baby into the salt. That baby's body will be cleansed from all the liquidity. After he comes out of the womb of the mother, it will be, the body will be in liquid, and it makes person smell bad smell. So Turkish people do this ceremony. They put the baby into the salt. Salt absorbs the liquid on the skin of the baby. Then the skin of that person becomes smelling nice, right? So they do this, and then at the age of 6, Ahmed has to go to the school, kindergarten. Ahmed goes to the kindergarten. At about 6 and 7, they have to do another ceremony. They do the circumcision ceremony. In old times, at about 6 or 7 years old, they do the circumcision ceremony. But for now, people do it in the hospital in early ages of the baby, right? In old times, formerly, they do the ceremony at the age of 6 or 7 before he starts school. And we got a religious ceremony again about circumcision because the sunnah of Prophet Muhammad and the other prophets. So they invite people to the festival. They invite people and they give meal to those people. And with the ceremony, they do the circumcision to the child, to the Ahmed. And they dress Ahmed like sultans, like they dress him like a prince of a sultan, son of a sultan, and he becomes man after the circumcision. And Ahmed got circumcised, and he starts the preschool, the primary school, at the age of 7, and he has to study during the primary school process for 4 years. Primary school lasts 4 years in Turkey. Then he goes to middle school, which we call like middle school. It lasts 4 years again. So he studies 8 years in the primary education process. Then he attends to the examinations. Ahmed attends to examination, and it's done nationwide, and they do the examination to the children. After the examination, he got ranked. He got the score. According to his score, he has to choose the high school. Generally in Turkey, people choose the high school around the territory they live. But in old times, we had schools not extended across the country. Because of that, people were immigrating to other cities to get the education of high school. So formerly, we had the high schools are divided, like religious high school, Islamic high school, and we had the teachers school, which trains the teachers in high school, the education system based on the teachership. And we had the school of science in high schools, but today it's not like that. It has changed since 2000. It is changed that every high school has got the same degree. They got the education of high school in the same level. In the education system, they got the education of literature, Turkish literature, Islamic literature. They got mathematics, geography, history, psychology, philosophy, and they got the education of religious studies, military studies, physical education, and geometry they got, and music as well. Visual arts, they got education about these, and they got graduated from the school of high school at the age of 17 or 18. After the graduation from the high school, Ahmet needs to attend to the university examination. It is done nationwide again, and we have got the institution based in Ankara, in capital city. That institution has to do the examinations to the students. Till to the high school, they finish the high school. The education is done by the Ministry of Education in Turkey, but the universities are free institutions, but the examination is done by the government again. Ahmet joins the examination of university. He got the score from the exam. Exam is done in 1 week. In 1 day they got the education about the social sciences. In other day he got the examination of the science, like positive sciences. Then they got the education. They got the examination of language examination. But it is very poor in Turkey because in the education system we do not have language education. Because of that, only the people who can join to the courses of language can manage to be successful at the language examination. After this examination, he got score, and he has to choose which university he has to go. Again, in Turkey, we have got universities almost in every cities, and they prefer to go to the closest university. But we have got prestigious universities in Turkey, like in Ankara, for example, in the capital city. We have got ODTÜ. ODTÜ means Ortadoğu Technical University, which is actually Middle East Technical University, if I translate literally. Middle East Technical University is the one. The other one is Hacettepe University, which gives the education about medicine, very successful about medicine. And we have got Ankara University, which is one of the oldest university of Turkey. It was founded by Sultan Abdülhamid, so it's really old, more than 150 years. So people are trying to get into that university for their education. In Istanbul, we have got very successful universities as well, like Marmara University, Istanbul Technical University, Mimar Sinan University. These are important ones. Boğaziçi University. Boğaziçi means Bosphorus. Bosphorus University. So only the most successful students can get into those universities. According to the score of Ahmet, he has to choose the university and which field he is going to study. Here we have got a problem that students are ranked by the score. These students has to choose the field that they want to study, but the score is limiting them. For example, if Ahmet wants to be dentist, he has to go to the dentistry faculties, but his score limiting them because dentistry medicine, and law schools, these are the highest ranked, highest score they need to get in order to join these fields. Because of this reason, in Turkey, when you see a person who is lawyer, who is a judge, who is doctor, who is dentist, these are the most prestigious jobs in Turkey. It is regarded as so. Because of that, the other faculties are regarded as with the less score, and those kids are considered as not clever students, right? But these are the jobs. In Turkey, families are forcing the students to become a lawyer, become judge, become dentist, become doctor, and everybody's trying to get that score. And students has to study a lot about mathematics, physics, biology, chemistry to get highest score. This is tragic actually, because student has to be elected according to their abilities and attributions, what they like to do, what let's say what is the quality of the student, what student will be successful at. So we do not elect the students according to the abilities of students, we just elect the students by the score of them. So they study a lot about mathematics, physics and the other fields, and they got the total score from the mathematics, physics, biology, chemistry, also geometry. These are the positive sciences. We have got the social sciences like literature, anthropology, archaeology, geography, history. If they got this score from these courses, total score, and they choose the field according to the score of the student. Then according to the score, they list the universities. It has to be 24 universities into the list. He chooses the universities and the fields, departments of universities. For example, let's say if Ahmet wants to be a doctor, he writes the doctorship at the beginning, and he makes the lists of the preference of him, and he sends the paper to the institution based in Ankara, and institution decides the students according to students' preference. The institution decides the student's place to go, right? This is bad thing to do. Actually, students has to apply to the university by himself, but we make the list of the universities, and he chooses the universities into the list, but the institution decides the which university he's going. Then he made the list, he makes the list, and he sends it to the institution, and according to the population of university, according to the rank level, score level of the student, they chooses the student. For example, Ankara University dentistry faculty has got 50 people capacity for the coming year, and they put the 50 people, 50 students, according to their scores into that faculty. They decide this way. And Ahmet got a university and the department by chance where to go. Then Ahmet joins the university, applies to university, make the application, and he starts studying. In Turkey, university education lasts for 4 years. For 4 years, except the doctorship, except the medicine schools. Medicine departments of university last 6 years. 6 years education they got. After the university education, we have got 1 year of language education as well. 4+1. At the beginning, first year, they join the language course if they like. They have to join the language courses because in Turkey and in globally, it is bad thing to not to speak in English, right? So in order to be successful in your field, you have to speak at least one language, one foreign language. And Prophet Muhammad says that one language is one person, two languages are two people, and three languages are three people. So this is important to learn another language to speak, and they prefer English because English is spoken worldwide. So then they start getting English courses. After 1 year, he starts his field to study, and then 4 years he studies the field. After the graduation from the university, they do the graduation ceremony, and he start to work as doctor, as a lawyer, as judge, whatever he chooses. But finding a job in Turkey is really difficult because we have got the private sector, and also we have got the institutional sectors. And institutional sectors are full of officers, and they do not get retired although their age comes. They do not choose to be retired although their age comes. They would like to get the salary continuously. Because of this reason, officers are working in the institutions of government, and new people graduated from schools cannot find job in the institutional institutions. They had to join an examination again done by the government. They do the KPSS examination. They took it, and after the examination they got score again, and government chooses the ones who are going to work in the institutions according to their fields. It is not easy to find a job in government institutions in Turkey, since the population of Turkey is 80 million people. And we have got private sector, and they start working in private sector, and the conditions in the job are difficult in the private sector. For example, salaries are less than the institutions, and they have to be in rivalry with the others to retain their job. So that is the difficult part to work in the private sector. They choose private sector or the government institutions, and they start working. Beside that, if the student doesn't want to work, if he chooses to be professor, academic career, they would choose the masters and continue the education on the master's level. So masters lasts 2 years in Turkey. First year is the science education, social sciences and the positive sciences are done during the first year. They learn how to do the investigation. They learn how to make a research, scientific research. So they got the education about quantities, qualities. They do learn how to do questionnaires and how to analyze the results. And they do learn how to analyze the chemicals, many others according to their fields. First year of education in masters is the education about science, and second year they do not join to the school courses. They have to do the research by their own. They have to write a thesis, dissertation. They write the dissertation according to the field he chooses. And then Ahmed has to go to the professors to the jury to prove his point into the dissertation examination. After the graduation of masters, he continued his education in the doctorate level. We say it PhD, philosophy degree. And philosophy degree lasts 4 years in Turkey. Philosophy degree. And they do deep research. They learn how to do deep research, scientific research. And then they learn how to do it. And 2 years he has to write a dissertation. And then we have got one another education which is called docentship in Turkey. It is like after doctorate. They got the after doctorate education, but this time he become the lecturer in the university after doctorate. After PhD level, he becomes the lecturer in university, and he becomes teaching students, and he has to write another thesis about that level, and then this level we have got the professorship. According to the books and the scientific researches and the publications he got the title of professor. Of course, we have got criteria how to become professor. The last one is the professorship, and when they generally become professors, their age comes to 55, 60s, and it's time for retirement, right? So today people get retired, ladies get retired at the age of 60 in Turkey, and the man retires at the age of 65, right? And then they retire. Ahmet, at about university level, Ahmet, after the graduation, he chooses whether to be a lecturer at the universities, or he works in the private sector, or he works for the government. He chooses one field and he struggles to become one of them. And at about 24 years old, it comes to get married. It comes to the issue of marriage, right? Actually, at the age of 20, every Turkish man has to join to the military service. Although Ahmet is studying in the university at the age of 20, they postpone it after the graduation. After he finishes the university, he has to join to the army. Non-university graduates, they have to do the military service for 1 year, and university graduates do it for 6 months, half of it. They join the army, they learn how to hold the gun, and they do the physical activities. They got the education about army, martial arts, and he serves in the armies, in the headquarters of Turkey, in armies, as a soldier. After 6 months of army education, military service, he comes back, and mother and father starts complaining about, it's time for you to get married, right? Luckily, if he is lucky, he finds the job, then he marries. But if he cannot find job, he marries again. Family chooses the lady for Ahmet, because they think that Ahmet is nice person and there has to be nice lady for Ahmet. So they start investigating the girls around in the villages to find the proper one. According to the family traits, they look to everything. For example, on the eastern part of Turkey, while choosing a lady for the boys, they ask for certain questions to the family of the girl, like, does your girl knows how to cook? is your girl able to recite the Quran? Is your girl able to follow the namaz, follow the prayers? They ask these questions. And is your girl able to embroidery, do the embroidery? They ask these to the family of the girl, and if they find it a reasonable person, they chooses the girl as a wife to Ahmed. But in modern times, families are saying that, oh, this is modern times, and the girl we find for Ahmed, Ahmed will not accept that girl, so Ahmed has to find himself. But I may say that the marriages who are done by the families, who the family chooses the girl and the boy, after the marriage, the divorce levels are less if they married by the family marriage, because they become happy after their marriage. But if Ahmed chooses the lady and the lady chooses Ahmed, they got married, but they are young. They got married. After the marriage, they cannot get on well, so they divorce after the marriage, right? So the classical way of marriage in Turkey is the proper one, and is the strong family relationships occur after this kind of marriages. So Ahmed finds a girl in any ways, and Ahmed decides to get married. And marriage is the big investment in Turkey. You have to, for example, you meet the girl first, and you choose the girl, and you decide to get on well and get to know each other for 1 year. So Ahmed and the girl, let's say Ayşe, Ahmed and Ayşe goes out together to spend time outside, and they start to know each other, and they speak about their families and what they start to know each other. And after 6 months, let's say, they decide to engaged. Families come together, and they decide that we are engaging the daughter and the son. They engaged, and they start living by that way for another 6 months. After 6 months, they decide to get married. Marriage ceremony is really costly in Turkey, because lady has to prepare her dowry, and Ahmed has to spend lots of money for the house, for the furnitures. So boy's side prepares the house and furnitures, and girl's side prepares the dowry, and the also girl's side has to prepare especially the bedroom of the house, right? Bedroom of the house. And Ahmed has to buy some golden bracelets, necklace as a gift to girl. And on the eastern part of Turkey, we had the tradition of that when you choose the girl's family were asking for money in exchange the girl from the man's family, right? They ask for the money, because in old times, really old times, children of a family was the workforce. And if you take one girl from the family, that means that you steal one workforce from that family. So the family was asking for money from the man's side in exchange the girl's workforce, right? This is really criticized in Turkey. This is bad tradition. Women's are not materials to buy, to purchase, they say. Because of this reason, this tradition is criticized, and now this is not done that way. They do not ask for money. But in rural areas, this tradition still continues. They ask for money from the family of the boy in exchange the girl. And sometimes it makes funny things that according to the beauty of the lady, beauty of the girl, according to the qualifications of the girl, they ask for more money, right? The fee changes according to the qualification of the girl, according to the beauty of the girl. So, for example, if the girl is blonde, blonde, they ask for more. For example, if she's really beautiful, man's family is asking for the girl from the family, and the boy's family says that we give money as the weight of this girl. We give gold as the weight of this girl. So if the girl is thin, the weight of the girl is less. You know, the golden money is given them less. If she's a little bit, you know, fat in the weight, so they pay much to that girl, right? These are the funny occasions happen in Turkey, in the eastern part of Turkey. So they has to prepare, the boy's family has to prepare the golden bracelets, golden necklace, golden earrings, many golden things. On the eastern part of Turkey, especially on the southeast part of Turkey, they pay they spend lots of money for the golden gifts to the bride. They buy the golden souvenirs for the bride. At the wedding ceremony, they have to give these gifts to the blonde, to the bride. Okay. The ceremony has to be like that way. Since Turkey became a secular country, according to the Islamic Sharia, while you are marrying, you have to there is two conditions of Islam saying that you have to declare to the people that you got married, you will announce this, and you have to do you have to give mehir. You know mehir? Mehir is mentioned in the Holy Book of Quran, saying that lady has to ask for money from the boy for her life, and the money has to go to the lady, to the girl, and the girl will spend it by herself. That is the most halal money a girl can earn in her lifetime. That is the most halal one. And according to the belief that money which is given from by the boy to the girl has to keep that money for her for their difficult times. That is the most barakat money. Barakat is like I don't know in English how to translate. Baraka is mubaraka, is the holy money that she earns. The land is foggy now, you realized, and on our right hand side we have got Salt Lake. We cannot see it right now. There is a salt lake there. It is white in color, and we have got factories around this lake. They produce chemicals from the salt lake. Chemicals. Okay. So Islamic Sharia says that you have to do two things. The first is announcement. The second thing is that the boy has to give money to the girl, and they agreed about the amount. Girl has to say name the price. In Istanbul, in Ottoman times, it was 8 golden money, 8 golden coin, which is printed by Sultan Mecidiye coin. 8 of them was the least one in Istanbul tradition. So they name the price, and boy is agreed to give it to the lady, and ladies today they got that money and immediately they go and buy handbag and posh ones, you know. But tradition says that you shouldn't spend that money immediately. You should keep that money for the difficult times of the family. You may spend that for the difficult times of family, which is the most holy and the halal money that a girl can earn in her lifetime, right? But we are a secular country now. In Ottoman times, only the priests, imams were doing the religious nikah. Nikah is the wedding. Only imam does the nikah. In Ottoman times, they were naming their names, they were writing down their names, and imam was asking to the lady that, are you agreed to marry this boy? And he asks to the yes is not enough. Answer yes is not enough. She has to repeat the word that I do agree to marry this man, and this man has to be the name of the boy. For example, Ahmet bin Mehmet bin blah blah, right? I agreed to marry Ahmet bin blah blah, because it has to be recited. It has to be recited willingly. I am marrying him, right? She has to say. And the imam asked to the boy the same question, and Ahmet has to say, I agreed to marry to this girl. And then imam says that I am going to get the mehir, the money, from you now to this girl. And there has to be two shahid in Arabic. There has to be two Muslim men or one Muslim man and two Muslim ladies in there as a testimony. They have to be there to see their wedding is done properly. And imam asked to them again, are you witnessing this? And they have to say, I witnessed that these two couple got married, and the others has to prove this. Then they got married, and imam has to got money from the boy to the girl, gives it to the girl. So mehri muajjal, mehri muahhar, which means you may give the half of it now and half of it later. They make this deal at the wedding according to the Islamic tradition. They do this way. In Ottoman times, they were writing the names of those couple into the chronicles of the mosque, and they keep it into the mosques, because mosques were the institutions of Ottoman Empire. But after Republic is declared in Turkey, we became secular country, and we do the wedding ceremonies like the Christians do. An officer from the government comes, from the municipality comes, and in front of the crowd, they ask to the lady that, are you willing to marry this boy? She says yes. And he asked the same question to the boy, and he says yes. And they got married and signed the papers that they are a couple now. And they keep the chronicles in municipality, so that we know that they got married and their children are enlisted there. So it happens that way. The bride dresses in white clothes, you know, European style clothing. They dress in the white cloth. White cloth is the symbol of virginity, blah blah. There are lots of Christian traditions. So she dresses in the white clothes, and she got married to the boy. But in old times, the ladies were dressing into the traditional clothing, which is very, very pretty. But nowadays, European culture affects Turkey, so because of that, ladies are dressing in the white clothes like the Europeans do. After they get married, they go home, and they invite many people. You know, in the institution of government, in municipality, they do the marriage ceremony, and they sign the papers there, and they go home, and they invite the relatives to the wedding ceremony, and they do the festival like celebration. During the day, they give meal to the people, to the poor people around, to the relatives. They give meals to them. And as far as I know, there is a bad tradition in the subcontinent that in the Indian weddings, Indian Muslim weddings and Pakistani Muslim weddings, they invite the people to the wedding, and there is a desk at the entrance of the hall. They are asking how much you are going to pay to the lady. This is criticized by the Muslim scholars. Don't do it. It's not good, because you shouldn't be compulsory to pay the money to the youngsters, young couple. It's a good thing to give gift to the lady and the boy. It's nice. Islam approves this, but in the subcontinent, it is becoming a tradition to pay money while you are entering to the wedding ceremony. In Turkey, we do not have that kind of tradition, but people, while they are coming to the wedding ceremony, they bring gifts. They bring presents. This present could be golden bracelet, or the simple ones like they need at the household, right? So they bring presents to the couple. By the way, you are going to see Başmakçı is written here on the board, and we have got a way on our right hand side. You see, after 7 kilometers away, that is my hometown. My parents are living in that city, in that town. Yeah. Originally, I'm from this place, and I started to live in Kuşadası after the graduation. And my sister lives in the city of Denizli, I told you. For 1 year, I'm staying with my sister together in Denizli, right? Originally, I am from this city here. It's an inland city here, and we grow poppies, opium poppies, generally in our fields. Opium poppies. We produce narcotics. We produce, how to say, LSD. I don't know the English names of those drugs, which are illegal. Actually, we do not, because it's under the control of the government. They give us the seeds of poppies, and they see the land where we are going to plant them, and they come and investigate, and then we harvest the poppies. Then we sell them to the government. We are prohibited to sell it to other people. But I remember from my childhood that my grandparents were making chewing gum out of opium poppies. You know opium, you know the plant of opium, how it is like? Do you know? Are you familiar with it? It's like a poppy, round one. It's like a ball, and inside it contains the seeds. Outside part gets crunchy under the sun, but inside we have got the seeds. Seeds are edible, and it is not prohibited by Islam to consume the edible parts of poppies. We consume the seeds, and we make pastries out of poppy seeds. But outside is the thing that you produce narcotics. Outside of the poppy, when it is not dried, when it's wet, I remember my grandparents were drawing with knife around the poppy, and they make it wait under the sunlight. And from the poppy, milk comes out, white milk comes out. Under the sun, the milk dries, and it becomes like chewing gum. As you chew that gum, you lose your conscience, right? You lose your conscience. In old times, people were chewing that gum, especially when they feel bad, when they feel ill and sick. They were chewing that gum to relieve the pain, right? For medical purposes, they were doing this. And according to the Islam, we have got the issue here. According to the Islam, narcotics are haram, like, except it is used in the medical purposes. Alcohol is haram, and alcohol, like everything, is haram, because you lose your conscience and you do it for your pleasure. As long as you do it for your pleasure, Islam prohibits to consume those kind of things, right? So in Turkey it is criticized, but formerly my grandparents were using that gum, chewing gum, for medical purposes, to relieve the pain. In the Ottoman madrasas, they were doing operations, surgeries. They were using that gum for the patient to lose his conscience, to feel the pain less, right? So we grow opium here in our village. So let me continue about Ahmet's wedding, right? Do you need a break?
Yes.
Do you need break? Because we are about to approach to the break point. You need a break? We can stop there for a limited of time. There you may find the opium seeds, honey as well. You can taste it if you are wondering how it is the taste. Okay, we are going to have break soon. Then we will continue our drive.